and welcome again to Ginny's Gin Livestream. Welcome to those of you that haven't watched us before. I'm Ginny, and we, along with my husband Rob, we're going to make a couple of cocktails today. The first one I'm going to make is a Swizzle, and so together with our dear friends Amy and Jeff Close, we founded Ginny's Gin a few years ago. And the pandemic really sort of forced us into doing this live stream so that we could be in front of some friends of gin, and we've actually started having some fun with it, and we've started to get quite a few views, and yeah, we're just having fun. So today's cocktails, both of them include fresh grapefruit juice. Grapefruit has just come into season this month here in Sonoma County, and it is a scorching 102 degrees. So we're trying to stay cool, and I think these lovely refreshing cocktails will help to cool you down. So my cocktail is the Gin and Juice Swizzle. So what is a swizzle, you may ask? And no, it's not a dance, but it certainly might get your dance party started. So a swizzle generally is a rum-based cocktail, and it's actually called Bermuda's national drink. So it's sort of originated in the West Indies, where a lot of things are swizzled, even hot chocolate is swizzled in the Caribbean islands. So in my version, I am actually substituting our Ginny's Gin for the rum, and the swizzle is actually named for the way that it is mixed and not for the ingredients. So this is a swizzle stick, here we go. And the original swizzle sticks, it was a long wood stem that was snapped off a tree, which is native to the Caribbean islands. It's called, and I'm going to try and pronounce it, it's called the Queraribia turbinata tree, but it's much easier just to call it a swizzle stick tree. So it features 5 or 6 prongs at the end, and when you take it like this and you dip it into your cocktail with a bunch of ice, and you rub it like this, what it does is all the ice, it makes a lovely frosting on the outside, gets everything, all the ingredients obviously are all mixed together, but it also keeps the cocktails super cold as well. So a good swizzle would always have a nice frosting on the glass outside. The original, tree bark, it imparted this bitter taste into the cocktail, this sort of slightly bitter flavor. So these days, whenever you do a swizzle recipe or you see a swizzle recipe, because we're using, this is a metal one, they actually call for a very healthy dose or dash, a few dashes of aromatic bitters, which will mimic the bitter from the bark that originally came from the tree stems. So how do we make it? Oh, okay, I have to tell you a story about this. So it's the national drink of Bermuda, and it's actually served all over the island, but the Swizzle Inn, which is the oldest pub in Bermuda, they lay claim to the fact that they were the ones that came up with the recipe, they invented it, and I think they sold their first one, they say, in 1932. These days, they actually sell around 200,000 swizzles per year. And we did actually, Rob and I contributed to that number the year that we honeymooned on Bermuda, and all those years ago. And so the motto for the Swizzle Inn is Swizzle In, Stagger Out, which of course we did because we were on our honeymoon, but we were also on, what are those motorbikes called? Vespers, mopeds, there we go. So, and I haven't had a swizzle yet. So we got on our mopeds and we somehow made it back to the hotel intact, and to tell the story. But there's lots of stories about how people on their way back to the airport, when they're leaving the island, they stop in at the Swizzle Inn and have way too many swizzles and don't always make it to the airport. Anyway, so that's our story. Without further ado, I'm going to make a swizzle, a gin and juice swizzle. So this one doesn't include rum. This has Ginny's Gin in it. Okay, so first of all, what we're going to do is we're going to take 10 mint leaves, and these are out of the garden, and we're going to muddle them. I'm going to put the gin in with it so that helps to release the juices from the mint. And we're going to put 2 ounces of Ginny's gin in here. If you go over, don't worry too much. There we go. Oh, thanks for the slamming door. That would be child, the firstborn. So this is a muddler, and if you don't have a muddler, it's perfectly fine to use, whether it's a wooden spoon. Super, excellent. Don't have children. Okay, so I'm going to muddle, just gently get the flavors from the mint. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And everything is made in the glass. So, you know, it's really good to keep your glass in the freezer so that it's already nice and cold. I've had it out for a little bit, obviously, but normally just take it straight out of the freezer when you make the cocktail. Okay, so that's the muddled mint, and then we are going to add half an ounce of orange liqueur. In this case, I'm using Cointreau. So let's do that, half an ounce. I love Cointreau. There we go, half an ounce. And then we're going to do 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. Lemon is out of the garden. I think it's okay. Yeah, oh, that's a good one. They're not entirely ripe, but this one was a good one. So 1 ounce of fresh lemon. Yeah. I think I'm gonna need the other half as well. Just depends on the lemon whether you're going to get a whole ounce out of you know, a half a lemon. So there we go. Ounce of lemon, and I'm just going to strain that in there because a bit of pips or what have you. Ounce of lemon. Okay. And then the grapefruit, which, as I say, are now fresh, in season, in Sonoma County. Okay. And I'm going to do 1 ounce of the grapefruit juice as well. So 1 each of lemon and grapefruit. You know, some Swizzles have pineapple juice. I mean, you know, it's the West Indies, right, where it came from. So it's, you know, it's all about the fresh juices. And there's the grapefruit. Okie dokie. Lorenzo, I see that you're watching. I can see that on my phone. How are you? Need to go for a boat ride. Okay, so those are the juices. And then, instead of using simple syrup, which some recipes call for, I am going to use the Velvet Falernum. And I know Rob loves this product as well. And I think they call it Barbados in a bottle. So it's kind of, it's more fun than just simple syrup.
Spices.
Yeah, exactly. So for the falernum, I'm going to put 3/4 of an ounce. You can put half an ounce if you prefer, if you don't want it that sweet. But it tasted good with the 3/4, I thought. So I'm going to do the 3/4 right there. Okay. And what else do we have? I think that's it. So now the fun part comes. This is where we do the swizzling. All right, so we are going to put crushed or shaved ice up to the top here, and then we're going to swizzle it to make it, you know, nice and cold. So, let me take this. Yeah, it's pretty warm. We've got the AC on, but it's still pretty warm. But hopefully this will cool us down. Okay, a little more. I was thinking about doing this in a bikini because it's so hot. Okay, so
Underwear.
Underwear. Rob wanted to do his underwear. I don't know if you want to see him in his underwear. Okay, so here's what we do. We swizzle. You see what I'm doing? Obviously, I'm just mixing everything up, and I'm going to add a little extra on the top here. Just keep swizzling, and we want it to be nice and frosted, obviously. And if you ever make it to Bermuda, you have to go to the Swizzle Inn. Actually, I don't think that because they do 200,000 a year, I don't think they actually swizzle them. They just shake them up in a, I seem to remember we had our own personal shaker, and they shake it up and then they pour it out of your shaker. But I don't think there's a lot of swizzling going on because it's a bit too much for that many. Okay, I'm going to add, starting to get frosty. It's also a good workout as well. And funnily enough, with this whole pandemic thing, had time to work out a bit, so it's always a silver lining, right? Okay, a little bit more of the crushed ice, and then at the top we're going to add the bitter part. So I'm going to do a shout out to Charter Oak because they did do a Ginny's Gin Swizzle on their recipe, on their cocktail menu. And thank you to Sam Levy, who now actually owns his own, he's co-founded a bar called Fern Bar in Sebastopol. Charter Oak was in St. Helena. And so he called for Peychaud bitters and also Angostura, so both, and a nice healthy dose of that. So that's what I'm going to do. A few dashes, and then a few dashes of the Angostura. There we go. And then I'm just going to sort of swizzle that, keep it in the top, but swizzle it into the ice at the top, like this. There you go, so you've got that nice colour at the top. And voila. All right, and then I think I'm going to put a nice little mint sprig, the mint. Super refreshing with all this, with this heat wave. So there it is. It's the gin and juice swizzle, the Ginny's Gin and Juice Swizzle. From Bermuda, from the islands, and Rob has a much more sophisticated cocktail that he's made, and it took a lot of preparation as well. So he's going to tell you about that. He's got it's gin and juice, but it's not your average gin and juice. So Rob, he's going to take it away. And stay cool, everybody. And so next week, it looks like we're going to be going to one of our local retailers. They're called Willoughby's in Santa Rosa, and we're going to do our social distancing, but we're going to take our cocktail making on the road, and we will see you from Willoughby's next Friday at 5. Rob, take it away.
Hi. Okay, so gin and juice from my favorite cocktail book, which I've used several drinks over the last several months that I've made drinks out of. And that would be Dave Arnold's book, Liquid Intelligence. And one of the things that I really did first was a lot of the carbonation drinks. And the funniest part of the book is the section where he talked about carbonating different wines and sakis and things like that. And at the end he said that he figured out that, he thought he was a carbonation genius. And it was really funny because I thought I was a carbonation genius, and then I read that after. So anyway, so what I did was I took some agar, and some people call it agar. And agar is derived from red algae. And so for a liter of grapefruit juice, you basically take a quarter of the liter, which is 250 mLs, and you add 2 grams of agar to it at room temperature, and you whisk it in until it dissolves. Then you heat that up to a boil for 2 minutes. Then you add that cold, the rest of the juice that's room temperature, the other 750 mLs back. And then it creates, if you put it in a little small hotel pan like this, with the second one with ice in it, after about 15 to 20 minutes it turns into like a gel. And then that gel you break up with a whisk, and then you filter it through a little nut bag like this. And what comes out instead of pink...
Nut bag?
Yeah, it's like for making almond milk and stuff like that. So then what comes out is this beautiful clear grapefruit juice. And then you run it through like a little coffee filter setup like this. And then you get this stuff. And so then that is the clarified grapefruit juice. And so then what I basically did was 2 ounces of gin for 1 drink, 2 3/4 ounces of the clarified grapefruit juice, and then 26 mLs, which is 3/4 of an ounce of filtered water. And then I put 2 drops of saline solution. And then this is 4 drinks that I put in this little plastic bottle. And one of the cool things that I learned from the book was how to set myself up for carbonation, which is really cool because you could do things like strawberry soda. You can take fresh apple juice and carbonate it, make your own like sparkling apple juice. And then there's a lot of cocktails that we've done, including our carbonated gin and tonics that have clarified lime juice in them. and they're really delicious, but it's super simple. It only costs about $100 to get set up for carbonating, and if you like carbonated water, you should just get one of these. And it's just a little 5-pound CO2 cylinder with a regulator, and then corny keg cap with a, what we call a carbonator cap. So these little plastic caps were kind of invented by beer guys to keep their small amounts of beer carbonated. But so basically what I'm going to do, I've already pre-mixed this because I went through the trouble to clarify this morning the grapefruit juice. I'm just going to get this to set properly. Okay, there we go. Sometimes the little caps can be kind of tricky to get them to seal. There we go. Of course it's going to do that now where it won't.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to work. It's just going to take a second.
Speak amongst yourselves.
Yeah. It's still not sealing. It's just, you know, I mean, you could do this 100 times and it works 99 times, and then the one time
When you're
everybody's
live.
everybody's watching, yeah. You can see that I've already done this once with carbonation in this drink, but I just wanted to like fluff it up for everybody. There we go. I can feel the difference. So then one of the ideas is that you use 3/4 of an ounce of this, like, this is a carbonated water bottle, right? So it's strong. And just push the air out like that, then close it. And then we're gonna carbonate this at 42 PSI. So, you know, clearly, you know, if this bottle fails, it's gonna get wet. So, ooh, there we go. Okay, so that's 42 PSI. And then the idea is that surface contact in cold. So this is like 8, it was 10 degrees when I took it out of the fridge, 8 degrees, so it's probably like 10 degrees Fahrenheit right now. So lots of agitation and super cold. The colder it is, the more carbonation it will take. So especially when you have alcohol, because that kind of limits the amount of CO2. But I would think that probably we're going to get maybe 4 grams of CO2 to dissolve into this, especially now that I'm shaking it for the second time. And so then, yeah, that's that. Let the pressure out. And then put the rig away. And so then this is our version of gin and juice. And just got to kind of degas it so you don't lose all the gas. And then this is also like, you know, that anywhere from like -5 up to like 14 degrees would be the proper temperature to serve this at. So I've got a very, very chilled champagne flute. And the first time I made this, I was so blown away. I mean, if you pinched your nose closed, you would think you were drinking champagne. But what it does with the aromatics of the gin, and in particular ours, because the botanicals are so beautiful, it just pushes all those botanicals up, and you smell every little botanical that's in the gin. So there you go. This is our gin and juice in a champagne flute, served about maybe 10 degrees, I'm guessing.
Delicious.
Yeah,
Look at
so
that.
there's that.
That's bad.
Yep. And of course, this time the cap will go right on and seal. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
Gin and juice.
Thank you. That's really good. That's not your regular
Agar's a
gin
great
and
clarifying
juice.
agent for juice.
Okay. Excellent. So we'll see you next Friday. We'll be coming live from Willoughby's in Santa Rosa. We will be social distancing, obviously, but it'll be kind of fun.
But not from each other.
Yeah, right, exactly. We'll be behind the bar and everybody else will be in front of the cameras. Okay, let's have a little cheers. Cheers to the weekend. Stay cool for those of you in the hot climes, and we'll see you next week. Cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers, honey. Good.
Yeah.
Super refreshing too when it's so hot.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like a gin and tonic, so in many ways. It's got that bitterness and that. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yummy. Okay, bye everybody.